Hey guys, RC here, back with episode 7. We are doing let me hit my timer button here. There we go. All right, so we're looking at the Big Ten. I was just glancing. We've actually got a lot of human owners in here, and we've got a bunch of guys that we have not covered yet. Now, let's see, I tell you what, I can do. Yeah, Rutgers, kiss my ass. All right, I think, let's see, Doc. Mike, we did Mike down here, didn't we? What other team was Texas Mike? I thought I did him somewhere. No, maybe. I remember seeing him. Oh, you know what? We actually did do Greg. We did the Lobos, so I don't need to do Sparty, which is good. I definitely want to do JC because we haven't done one of his. Haven't done one for Sid, I don't think, for Gary. We'll do Penn State. Haven't done Yakov, so we'll do Pitt. I have to do Ohio State because that's Dill's only team. And you know what? Lowell. Does he have another team in the Big East or anything? Lowell 42. Or in the ACC. I already see a couple. I tell you what, we could do JC for Miami. And we've already done Harry twice. So yeah, I tell you what, let's do let's take Purdue off. That leaves Penn State, Pitt, Iowa. I'll knock off Michigan, Nebraska, Notre Dame. 1, 2, 3. That gives me 4 teams. All right, so that's what we'll go with. If we take a look at the Big Ten, Pittsburgh is slated to finish 5th. Michigan State, 3rd. Penn State, 9th. Purdue, 10th. Wisconsin, 11th. And Notre Dame, 8th. So second tier for most of those teams. Sparty should have an easy time of it. Iowa 4th. Michigan 2nd. That means Ohio State's 1st. Minnesota 6th. Northwestern 12th. Yeah, whatever. And Nebraska 7th. So that's what we're dealing with in the Big Ten. Let's go ahead and pop up our team here. And let's go ahead and get Ohio State out of the way just so I don't have to talk about Mike and his bullshit any more than I have to. God. All right. Well, you know, hey, he rocks. He's got the #1 recruiting class. He's #1 in the polls. Won the national title. Yeah, whatever. He's good. Damn it. Auburn. #14, Maryland. On the road at that. Louisville and Texas Christian are his. And it looks like he does like me, basically 2 and 2. Just try to keep everything equal and honest. 2 national championships, including last year, 9 conference championships. He has owned me since he's come back to the league, and love Mike like a brother, but God, I hate him as a coach. Vertical offense, running back Daryl Havens. A 43 defense, defensive tackle James Hudson. Uh, you know, I can only remember the days that my quarterback rotation looked like that. And you think I'm bullshitting you. There's my Michigan quarterback. So yeah, we kind of suck. That is yeah, yeah. Miller's a sophomore and he's already 9 out of 10. Hopefully he turns pro after this season. That would be great. And Richardson, maybe he'll turn pro or transfer. That would be great too. And maybe Niles decides he's going to have concussion syndrome and he'll quit playing. That would be awesome. And Ross could be their starter next year. I'd be okay with that. Otherwise, you know, very similar to Florida, you know, kill a quarterback a week, and he's probably got enough quarterbacks to still kick your butt all the way through the playoffs. Havens, hello, two 10 rated running backs. Even their third string will probably get the job done for him. Two deep, 4 stars or better across the board here. Little concerned about his lack of depth at tackle, especially with the three deep issue. Hopefully, injuries don't cause any problems. He could always put Small over there as an emergency backup, but still, I mean, his backup guys are 10 rated at tackle. Petty's not bad. Small, interchangeable. So serviceable two deep on the offense at every position. Really solid across the defensive front, two deep at every position, so he could run a 4-3 or a 3-4. Weak side, Davis is a 9, McConnell's a 9, but they're going to be better once they get some seasoning under them. Same thing with Bunn, Thompson, Dietrich. He'll probably never play or very little, so pretty quality there. Peyton, we're not really deep here. Shapiro, golly, look at that. Oh well, the number one player in the country. So again, yeah, he hasn't done his depth chart, so a lot of this may change. I would expect Shapiro to be up, probably Mays his back, the second corner, and D'Antonio Payton will probably be the nickel. 9 rated for your nickel guy. Yeah, first world problems, as they say. The only weakness here really is that second, well, even the second corner won't be, but your second safety, unless he slides Taylor over there and runs Ritchie and Chandler as his nickels. That might be the only spot. And if he does that, then of course his backup free safety, but he would interchange Taylor back and forth. So, there's really no holes on Ohio State. Look for them to make another run this year. I don't think I've got a shot to beat him again this year. So it's going to make for a long season for me at Michigan, because if I can't compete with Ohio State, then I can't win the conference and I can't go to the playoffs typically. So we'll probably be watching from, I don't know, like the Holiday Bowl or something again and watching Ohio State win a national title. Certainly preseason number one. Don't see any reason to think that they won't be in the hunt come playoff time, and it's just going to be a matter if one of the other big dogs, a Maryland or somebody, can knock him off, but certainly expect him to be there. Let's move on to Iowa. So let's take a look here. Iowa is expected to finish 4th. Andrew Lowell, no conference championships, 110-90 all-time in the conference, 23 postseason appearances, 13-13 postseason record. Navy at Northern Illinois, Wyoming, Southern Methodist. I don't know if you guys listen to Colin Cowherd or know who that is, but he's not an Iowa fan. He says that they dial up cream puffs. Not the most intimidating schedule, but honestly, I'll cut guys in the Big Ten a little slack because I mean, you've got number 1, number 2, number 19, number 21, number 22, and some of these other teams will potentially be ranked at some point in the season. Penn State, Wisconsin, of course, they're not on here. So, it's a pretty tough conference right now to be playing in. Taking a look at the depth chart, I mean, look at that. They've even got better quarterbacks than Michigan. And he's a sophomore, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions last year. Tony Romo's little brother, Brian Romo, at running back backup. So some good, solid developmental depth. Starting receiver quality, real quality depth, just needs to develop at receiver. Across the line, of course, you see the obvious hole at center. Now, Young is probably a freshman, true freshman. He'll develop, but it won't be this year. Do you maybe slide Williams up to center and beef up the line a little bit, and then move him in case of an injury to Hobson or Jones? You just kind of have to play with that because his depth on the interior line here is not real good. So he can move Williams a little bit. I would expect Carter to probably move up here. Semino is probably he's a redshirt junior. He has not developed at all. I would consider him at this point to be a bust, and I don't think he'll ever end up near that 7 potential. Probably going to see him at a 3 or a 4 as a senior at best. On the defensive side of the ball, good on the interior line, Ellis and Davis when they bulk up a little bit. Same thing with your defensive ends, Lopez, Gaskins, Mobley. They'll have a nice 3 deep rotation, but this year it's going to be a little lacking. You've got Sharp, Hatch, and Edwards in the linebacker spots, really good. Edwards and Johnson just need to develop, but they are weak on the outside here because McGowan and Call, not worth the paper that they're written on. So injuries to the linebacker core could hurt them. Probably see him move Garner and Simons to the outside to fill in there, I would think. Jackson, I would see same thing. I would put Lipscomb up and then put Eddings at a backup here, something along those lines. But Eddings will be okay once he develops a little bit. Jackson will be the anchor there. A little susceptible probably to the pass, as these guys are a little under the norm for Big Ten, the top of the Big Ten, but and passing nationally. But still, they'll be okay, and they should at least keep them in the hunt to be in the upper half of the Big Ten. So competing for that 4th spot probably won't be too big of a stretch. Let's take a look over at Pitt. They want to finish in the top 20, around 5th in the Big Ten. Basofsky? I don't think that's the coach's name on the coach's page. Anyway, they run a vertical offense, running back Chris Hoosier, 43 defense, free safety Keith Higgs. They've got Fresno State, Utah State, Memphis, and Utah. So they stepped up with Utah out of the Pac-12 for their human game. Fresno State, I don't know if that was done before Sean Rankin came back or not, but that will not be a gimme with Sean at the helm over there. So, and then plus they do run a gauntlet. Looks like they avoid Michigan this year, but they do have Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Minnesota. Like I said, Wisconsin and Penn State could easily find themselves ranked at some point with a couple of wins. Taking a look at their depth chart, I would say Putnam's probably the obvious choice there, even though he's a little down. He's a true freshman. Not sure what his transfer look is. Maybe you want to redshirt him and get another year of development and get 4 strong years out of him. If not, I might throw him to the Wolves this year. 4 deep at running back, and they're all pretty quality. Clay probably the worst of the bunch. Jackson appears to have the most upside. Receivers are all pretty similar, pretty solid from top to bottom. Trumpy, of course, looks like the best upside. 3 deep at receiver. 2 of them going to be pretty good. Really strong in their starting 5 across the front line. You do have solid depth here with 7 and 8 potentials, and they even go 3 deep at the tackle. So that's really strong for them. On the defensive side, 4 deep at defensive end, 4 deep in the interior. That's really solid depth. You can't do much better than that. Linebacker, we're pretty average. You can go 2 deep before you start getting a little worried. Higgs, of course, anchors the secondary. Schwartz is not much below him. I think Roberts would be a little bit better option, of course. Maybe switching him over to strong safety. Higgs, however, is a senior. Roberts is a redshirt sophomore, so yeah, probably keep him there to replace Higgs next year. Singleton will have some ability too moving up, but he's no better than these guys, so probably equal value there. Paulson with the most upside at the corner. He is a second-year sophomore, and that's the kind of guy that you really wish you could have redshirted last year, have him coming in as a 4 or a 5.8 this year for their first year, and going from that point. But unfortunately, you start getting to this level, and you can't redshirt guys because they will bail on you in a heartbeat, and go play for another team somewhere else, Iowa State or something. Um, Corner's a little bit of a concern. I can see them getting picked on a little bit, and that'll probably keep them from winning a few games. So fifth place, I think that's doable. If they catch a few breaks, they could probably contend with Iowa for that number 4 spot. That Week 8 showdown at Iowa could be a make or break game between those two teams. And the last team we were going to look at, Penn State. Taking a look here, they're expected to finish above the cellar and get a corresponding bowl game. So ninth in the conference with a bowl game. Gary Crane, he's 223 and 110 at Penn State. So they've fallen on some hard times, but 65 prestige, very similar to what Danny's dealing with over in the Big 12. But that also shows the discrepancy in talent right now, where Danny's projected to finish 4th and Gary's projected to finish 9th. So big difference in expectations. But he's 223 and 110. So, he's had a good team at Penn State for a while and done well. Southern Methodist, Virginia, Wake Forest, Texas Christian. A couple of those are human run as far as I know. Sorry, I just saw something pop up on my my notifications and just chat me a little bit. National Championship, 4 conference championships. Taking a look at the depth chart. Well, they can compete with Michigan at quarterback. They've got 2 solid running backs, even 3 deep with some development. Receivers need a little bit of development, especially Holloman. He's a true freshman. That's a guy that I would, again, you'd like to maybe redshirt him this year, have him come up to a 4 or a 5 next year. And, that way he could be a little bit bigger contributor his first year, if you can get away with that. Browning will be their go-to guy, but they're at least 2 deep. Again, solid across the front line. You can see the talent drop off from some of the other teams we've looked at. Most of this is developmental, and they'll get to 7s. Really, really thin. I mean, there's nobody at guard. And you really only go 1 deep with Miller at tackle. So, I could see him being the guard backup as well. But any injuries on the offensive line could make for a long season for Penn State. Taking a look at the defense. Again, just not very talented on the edges. Reed's okay, but still not, what you would like to see for starting defensive ends. Scott is what you kind of look for. They do have some depth there with Kennedy and Lumpkin in the interior. They just need to develop. Myers is their anchor on the strong side. Again, 7s, that's kind of borderline starter, backup guy that you would want. 6s, you kind of start getting, man, that's what we're seeing starting in, Conference USA and stuff. So you start kind of worrying right there. I mean, they're good enough to play at least. I mean, unlike, where we're looking at some of these other positions like at guard. Corner's another issue. You've got 2 guys. Mangum I would call borderline, and really you don't have anybody behind him. Strong safety just needs to develop, but they're okay. Free safety, you're 2 deep before you get into some bench players. So Could be a rough year for Penn State. I just don't see them having the horses on the defense to really stop a lot of the Big Ten teams. Offensively, really going to come down to how he game plans and gets things together. And the health of his offensive line, I think, is going to be huge in determining the outcome of his season. Did we hit everybody? Let's see. Iowa, Ohio State. Did we do Pitt? I think we did. Yes, we did Pitt. All right. Where are we at on time here? We'll keep going. All right. Next up is the Big East. Take a look here. We've got Rick Sullivan at Cincinnati. I don't think we've covered one of his teams. We certainly have not covered the Zombie. So we'll cover ECU. Tom Hunt at Houston we'll cover. Greg, I think we said we would do Marshall because we skipped over State. I'm going to skip Myrtle here. Doc, we did San Diego for. And you know what? I just want to make sure that I don't miss two matches. Who's his other team? I don't think we did Illinois. I don't think we did Illinois. That was with Fresno. Let me check my list here. Where is Fresno? Ball State? No. There they are. Fresno, Rice, San Diego State. We only did 3 teams in that conference. So I should have done Mike there. He is not in the Big East, I don't think. Nope. All right, so we'll have to add him in here. That's South Florida. Let me see if anybody there is up in the... Nope. We're going to do Miami, Maryland, Georgia Tech. So we'll do all 4 of those. All right, so we'll have to do 5 here. Let me go ahead. We've got about 4.5 minutes left in this episode, so we'll go ahead and get started. Sean's offline. I don't know who that is. That's just something on Skype. Sean's offline. Darren's never responded to me, so he evidently doesn't go on Skype anymore. All right, so Cincinnati. There we are. You know, a 90 elite program coached by Rick Sullivan. Clemson, Arizona, number 10 Cal, and is Troy in that division? Washington. Washington's in the Pac-12. That's their 4th game there. So 3 home, 1 away. 3 ranked teams, counting the 1 out of conference. Balanced offense, running back Zach Beatty. 34 defense, inside linebacker Jim Relief. Sounds like a guy I'd rather have coming off the bench. They've won a national championship, 10 conference championships, 301 and 69 all time. Their average rank over the 25 years of the league is number 8 in the nation. Not a bad team at all. They find themselves in a conundrum, it looks like, this year. Greg Dawson is a true freshman. You've got a couple of a sophomore and a junior that are not very good. So they're going to have to sink or swim with a true freshman that's underdeveloped right now. I would say that's probably going to give them some problems this year. They do have a great duo of running backs that if they went with a run-heavy attack, screens, short passes to the backs, that could take some of the pressure off of him. He does have some quality receivers, but not much depth. Fulcher's going to be okay right up in that Rasmussen area with some development. He's a freshman too, though. Front line's pretty good, a little weak at center, not much depth without development. Same thing at their second tier on the rest of the line. Not what you would probably hope for, but manageable. You could make do. Guards are excellent, and their tackles are not bad either. Probably be better in another year. Both of those guys are juniors, so a little surprising they're still at 6. That's a development thing. So you'd like to see that a little bit better, but pretty solid on the offensive line. At least the center being the weak point, you can pinch in and double team with a guard or something, and that'll help out a little bit. On the defensive line, again, you have some development guys at the right side. Brown will be good off the edge. Hargett up the middle, blocking the middle. Behind him, there's not a lot with that doesn't need development. 3 strong linebackers. You've got Green backing up there. You actually have some quality depth in Monson, but he needs to develop a little bit. But he's at least a serviceable player that can play and contribute. Really good depth at corner, but just none of them stand out as being really strong. So that could be an area of concern. Noble needs to develop a little bit. Williamson and Anderson both equal for the most part. Again, maybe Anderson slides over and puts Noble into the nickel. A couple of things he could do there, but some talent, but quarterback. I just riding on a true freshman is going to be something very difficult to be dealing with all season. Let's go ahead and jump over to USF. Take a look at these guys. They're expected to win the Big East. How do you like that? Now, South Florida was not always in the Big East, I don't think. Well, maybe weren't they in Conference USA or the MAC or something like that? I thought they were somewhere lower and got promoted up. Maybe while Danny was there, maybe since. I know there's been a couple of other coaches. In fact, this might be one of those who's who of coaching. Let's see. South Florida. So Jay Hardy, Danny was there for a while. Anthony Collins was there for a while. Whatever happened to Anthony, by the way? Anybody ever know? John McCarron was there for a while, and then Mike Smigo's been there. So, they've done really well, and they have really come up over the years. So let's get back into. Oh no, that ain't what I wanted. Doggone it. South Florida, right there. Team info. All right, so I tell you what, we'll put a cut in right here. We'll pick up with South Florida and finish off the Big East in the next video, and then we'll see how far we can get into the ACC. We might just save that for one last video. Thanks for your time. Hope you guys have enjoyed these. We'll see you in the next one.